Shutting my eyes, I silently thanked God for allowing me the opportunity to be inside the woman I loved again. Praise Jesus, Lord, praise the Lord. The Crush by Penelope Ward. This book's message is actually a pretty good message. It's okay to not be okay. How attractive is Farrah, you ask? She, quote, could rival a freaking Victoria's Secret model in the looks department. Oh, weren't you curious about what Jace tastes like, right? Well, he tastes like sugar and spice. It might even be pumpkin spice. Jace and Farrah. Jace is best friends with Nathan. Farrah is Nathan's sister. Farrah was named after the actress Farrah Fawcett. Jace is Farrah's secret crush. She's loved him since she was little. And Jace loves Farrah like a sister. Oh no. There's kind of a significant age gap, maybe like 5 or 6 years. He's also not good in relationships because he's broken. Oh, a broken man. So hot, right? Farrah and Nathan's parents died several years prior. They died in a robbery that had something to do with the car. Jace was with them. He's always held this guilt, and after this, Nathan became Farrah's legal guardian. They all live in Florida. Jace got away from Florida and he went to North Carolina and he had a nice job there. But he came back to help with his dad's construction business because his dad has been sick. Jace's dad also had a gambling problem, and this is also why he needs help with his business, because he leveraged, like, he took a lot of cash from his business to gamble away and he lost it all. It's like tens of thousands of dollars in debt. And so Jace is trying to handle it all, but he's living with Nathan and Farrah in their house because he doesn't want to live with his parents. They have a 3-bedroom house with a pool in an HOA community stucco home. And they also have an avocado tree in the yard. Hey, I'd have an avocado tree in the yard. It kind of reminded me of like those retirement communities. Like, do they live in a retirement community? Because those are all over the place in Florida. They have like parties sometimes, but not like a bunch of people parties. It's just like 3 to 4 people parties. Jace catches Farrah smelling his shirt as she's doing his dirty laundry, and she did it just so she could smell his scent. She's not ready to confess her love to him. She just thinks that he's gonna think that she's a silly little girl, even though she is like 18, 20 now, and he's in his late 20s. So in attempts to save her from this embarrassing thing that he has witnessed, she claims to have some sort of like, she starts sniffing other things to make him like, oh, I just like to smell things. It's just my thing. Jace isn't really a playboy, but he does date girls really just to have the sex, not having any long-term plans. It gets really uncomfortable for Farrah because he starts dating this girl, Linnea, brings her over for a movie night one night, and she gets all super jealous, sitting on the couch together, and she is sitting on one side of Jace and Linnea's sitting on the other side of Jace. Their legs like press up against each other, and she thinks like, oh, is this deliberate? Does this mean that he's starting to like me too? Or is it just like an accident, or, you know, he's not really paying attention to what his leg is touching? But their legs press up against each other for like 10 minutes. This is when Jace realizes he likes Farrah more than a sister. He's fighting it really hard. And that leg press thing, that was him fighting his attraction for Farrah. He let it go way too long. Nathan started to notice this as they were kind of getting more and more flirtatious with each other. They were getting really flirty in the pool when they were home alone one day, but Nathan walks in and sees them and thought something more was happening. Jace totally denies all accusations. Jace and Farrah hadn't had sex together yet, but they both confessed their love to each other. But to throw Nathan off their scent, they started to bring other people over to the house that they didn't really care about. He even finds this other random girl, brings her home for Nathan and Farrah to see. Oh yeah, I don't have any feelings for Farrah, and I'm like moving on with my life, and I'm seeing this other girl. He liked even less than Linnea. So like, whatever. Farrah doesn't have anybody else to go out with, so she just makes up this fictitious guy. She met online to try to make Jace jealous, and it kind of works. So when she says that, oh, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go have a date with this, guy I met online, she really just goes over to her best friend's house. Jace compares his feelings for Farrah, like internally to himself, to his dad's addiction with gambling. So what is the solution, he concludes? Just avoid it and stuff down all his feelings. Jace still has this PTSD around Farrah's parents dying. Farrah actually starts dating other guys. Jace told her to forget them being together. He can't actually make a move on Farrah because he feels so guilty for killing her parents. It was just bad circumstances, but he just mentally can't get over it. He told her to forget them ever being anything, but she immediately started to try to forget him by dating this guy Colton, who she met online. She dates him for a while, but can't come to terms with going all the way with him, and that won't be fair to Colton either. So she breaks it off with him after a barbecue that they have. Then that night, Jace drives Farrah in his truck to a parking lot to have this discussion. We're in love with each other discussion. What's wrong with you? And it turns into this huge makeout session. I mean, they pretty much had sex. There was no penetration. It's kind of like it didn't count because it was through their clothes. Jace is all we better not do this in a public parking lot because someone might catch us. But they start having sex for real behind everyone's backs, especially behind Nathan's back. They do not tell Nathan. They mess around for about 2 weeks and completely fall in love with each other. One night, a family movie night, Nathan invites his new girlfriend over while Jace and Farrah try and fail to keep their hands and eyes off of each other so no one suspects anything, even though, they fail, so everyone, of course, suspects everything. Jace knows that Nathan will be pissed if he finds out that Jace had been fucking his sister, and he knows that Nathan now suspects that something is up. Because later that night, Jace drives him and Farrah to this part of town. Her parents were killed, and they have all of these flashbacks and stuff. Farrah is working with a therapist to try to make peace within herself about her parents' death. And that's where everything comes out that Jace felt really guilty. Farrah tells Jace that she loves him, and they were interrupted by Nathan banging on the window. He not only totally figured out that they were together, but he kind of disowned Jace as a friend. Never speak to me or never speak to my sister ever again. So Nathan makes Farrah choose. It was either her brother or her lover, and she had to choose her brother. Jace and Farrah have this huge argument. Jace decides he's too weak to stay with her and stick through this drama with her brother, so he leaves town, moves back to North Carolina. This breaks both of their hearts, but he says it was the right decision for her. It was the right decision for her. Girl, 3 years goes by. Jace is dating Kaya, some other girl back in North Carolina, but after the 3 years, he comes back home to Florida. His dad's still alive, but his mom passed away. He runs into Farrah one day. She's also dating an asshole. It's kind of like a rebound to her. She is kind of still numb and not really over Jace leaving. Nathan is now disabled. He was driving drunk one day, got into this big accident, and I think he's in a wheelchair. They both had to move to a shittier neighborhood. They had to sell the house because Nathan wasn't able to work anymore. Farrah had hardened her heart after Jace broke it. These several weeks that Jace comes back, he breaks up with his girlfriend of 3 years. She's like, okay, you seem to be not over Farrah, and while you're here dealing with the funeral, I think I should go back home. And he does end up breaking up with her. She puts it all on him. She wasn't a bitch about it, but now he needs to get Farrah to break up with her asshole boyfriend. And he really is an asshole. He's just mean to people. Farrah eventually breaks up with her boyfriend because he saw her and Jace talking close. He got all super jealous, and she got mad that he was jealous. They weren't sleeping behind his back or anything. He was a jerk anyway. A month later, Farrah and Jace started getting it on. This time they stayed together for good. They bond over talking about their troubled pasts and their parents dying. Jace starts going to therapy finally. Farrah eventually goes to law school, and Jace becomes the new head of his dad's construction company. And they live happily ever after, and they even, since Jace owns a construction company, he bought this shitty house that he renovated just for Farrah, and it was totally a surprise. And I think it ended up being in the same neighborhood of their old house with the pool. It's just so sweet. You asked where we were going. Pretty sure it's hell. You know your father's a horn dog. That was said by Jace's mother.